Chapter 141 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Dushyanta the King. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. From a distance, Shakuntala raised her eyes and saw her dear beloved lord. The king was seated on the throne. He was like Indra, and her eyes rested longingly on his face, since they had been long absent from a sight of him. She was very happy to see him, and with bent head she walked towards the throne. Having saluted him properly, she then propelled her son towards the throne and said, "My son, make your prostrations to the king, your father." After saying this, she stood silent, shyness stopping her from saying anything more. She stood there, and she was holding on to a pillar nearby, leaning against it and stealing glances at him. Her eyes were excessively bright with excitement, and she could hardly restrain herself. Sarvadamana prostrated before the king and stood by the side of his mother. His eyes were curious, questioning, and excited. "So, this is my father," he told himself. "He seems to be so noble and so good. I would like to be with him." He looked at his mother, and she smiled at him. The king, in the meantime, did not know who they were and what they had come to him for. Her words, "Make your prostrations to the king, your father," had made him sit up. It was sheer impertinence on her part to talk like that. But he composed himself, and with a thoughtful look on his face, he spoke to her. "What can I do for you? What is your purpose in coming here to my presence, and especially with your son? Tell me what you want, and I will do what is right." Shakuntala's voice was very soft, and he could hardly hear her. She said, "May it please your majesty, I will certainly speak. This youth is your son, born of me. I have come to ask you to fulfill your promise to me and to crown him as the Yuvaraja. I need hardly remind you that in the ashrama of the sage Kanva, you took my hand in yours and asked me to be your wife. Please remember those days, my lord, and accept your son and your wife, who have been separated from you for the last many years." Dushyanta, a king with so many loves, had long ago forgotten Shakuntala and her love. She had been just a moment in his love life, and it had been sunk in the depths of oblivion. When she spoke those soft, hesitant words, he began to remember hazily, and suddenly he remembered everything. But he did not want to admit it. He said, "I remember no such thing. I do not think I have ever seen you before. You are a stranger to me, and it is impossible that I took you for wife, and that this child is mine." He paused for a moment and waited for her to speak. Shakuntala was too stunned to talk. He said, "I do not believe your story. I think you are an adventuress who is bent on getting something out of me, and you have invented this marriage. I have nothing to do with you. You can stay here or you can go. You can do as you please." His words were like burning poison entering the ears. Shakuntala stood spellbound. It seemed to her that she would soon fall down in a faint. She had not expected such words, and her heart was sorely hurt. But she composed herself. Anger, a wave of uncontrollable anger, replaced the despair in her heart, and she stood straight. Her lips were throbbing with emotion, and her eyes, which were soft till now, became brilliant with anger. She seemed to burn the king with a fire in her eyes. She looked at him for a long moment and then said, "You do remember. I know that you remember everything, and yet you behave like a villager and tell me you do not remember. Your heart and the Atman which is lodged inside your heart will tell you everything. You are not speaking the truth, O king. You are deliberately telling a lie. You are well versed in the sacred books. Can you not see that you are insulting the Atman in you with this lie? Dharma is the only thing which will protect good and gentle people, and you are transgressing all dharma. You are a king and you speak a lie. Man commits sin in secret and tells himself, 'I am safe. No one knows what I have done, and I will not be found out.' But the devas know what he has done. The bhutas know. The sun, the moon, fire, Vayu, the heavens and earth and Yama, the lord of Dharma, know what he had done. Day and night and the two Sandhyas know. Righteousness itself knows about the behavior of the sinner. Yama, Vaivasvata, will punish him for his sin. The Kshetragna, the Atman inside his heart, the eternal witness of all the acts of man, will know. A man who deceives himself and thus his Atman will not be respected by the gods. Listen to me, O king, I will try to refresh your memory. You came to the ashrama of Khandva on your own and you sought my hand. I am your lawful wedded wife, and it is not right that you should insult a righteous woman, Pativrata, as you have done in the presence of everyone. If I so desire, I can destroy this entire palace and your head will break into 1,000 pieces. But a woman loves her husband even though he is a sinner, and that is why I do not desire to vent my anger on you and your kingdom. It has been said that there is no glory greater than being the father of a son. I have brought your son to you. The world can see how glorious he is and how noble he looks. Which man will be so foolish as to refuse a son like this? The wise say, man is born again in the form of his son, and you can see yourself in your son. A son saves you from the hell by name Put, and you do not accept him. Indeed, it is strange. I will try once again to remind you of what had happened long ago. You had come to the forest to hunt, and a deer led you away far into the forest, and from there to the ashrama of Khandva, which is situated on the banks of the river Malini. You met me in the ashrama. I was alone. My father had gone out. I honored you as a guest should be. You wanted to know who I was, and I told you that I am the daughter of the Apsara Menaka, and that my father is the great Rishi Vishwamitra. You spoke gentle and soft words to me. They were steeped in honey and they were lies. You stayed in the ashrama with me and took my hand in yours. You said you were marrying me by the Gandharva rite. Fool that I was, I believed you. I trusted you and I accepted your love. Surely, after all this, surely you cannot say that you still do not remember. It is not becoming that a Paurava monarch should speak an untruth, should abandon one who is his. You are the Lord of the world and you are my Lord. You should not refuse to accept me and your son. I have ever been unfortunate. As soon as I was born, my father refused to recognize me, and my mother did not want me either. She left me in the forest and went away. Birds took pity on me, and then my father Khandva protected me. I was living a sheltered life, and then you came. After ruining me, you have also decided not to admit your actions. I will return to the ashrama of my father. You do not have to take me, but please do not refuse to accept your son. He is your son, and you must make him the Yuvaraja. Dushyanta's voice was impatient and very harsh. He said, I do not know of any son born of you. Women are reputed to speak untruth always. How do you expect me to believe you because you are cleverly weaving a plausible story? You are indeed shameless to come to me like this and talk about things which no women will mention in public. You are a wicked tapasi. Get out of this place. Where is that Rishi of terrible tapas Vishwamitra, and where is Menaka? You dare to say that you are the child of these two? You should not talk like this. You bring a boy who seems to be strong and well built, and you want to make me believe that he is mine. I think you are a low born woman who has no morals to speak of, and you are not fit to associate with good women. If it is wealth you want, I will ask my treasurer to give you gold and jewels. Please go somewhere else and ply your trade. But go away from here. I do not want to see you any more. Shakuntala was past caring. Her sorrow had given her courage, and again she was a mother fighting for the rights of her son. She looked at the king with contempt in her eyes and said, It is amusing to hear your words accusing me of these terrible things. You deem it fit to see so many sins in me, and yet they are all the size of a mustard seed compared to the mountainous sin which you have committed and to which you turn a blind eye so deliberately. I am the daughter of a rishi and an apsara, while you are just an ordinary man and a sinful one at that. I can walk in the skies while you walk on the ground. I am like the Meru mountain, and you are to me as small and insignificant as a mustard seed. Your ancestor Ayu was the son of Puraravas and an Apsara by name Urvashi. And the mother of your son is also the daughter of an Apsara. No one has so far thought of these children as beyond the pale of society. Do you not know that speaking truth is as great as learning all the Vedas and bathing in all the holy rivers? There is no dharma greater than truth and no sin worse than speaking a lie. The Brahman is nothing but absolute truth. Do not insult the Brahman and the Atman in you by persisting in your adharma. I am telling you that my son will rule this world even if he is not recognized by you. When he was born, Indra, the Lord of the heavens, told me, Shakuntala, your son will be the emperor. His words will not go false. But now, since there is no witness to the visit you paid to the ashrama of Kanva, I am going back to my father. Shakuntala turned away from the throne and began to walk towards the doorway. Her anger could almost be seen in the form of smoke rising from her hair. With great difficulty, she controlled her fury, and grasping her son by the hand, she began to walk out of the palace, out of the city. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Pranamastu. Chapter 142 of Shrimadbhagavatam, The Penitent King. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Everyone in the hall was watching this scene with bated breath. Not a whisper could be heard. So absorbing was the drama. Shakuntala had gone past the doorway and no one moved. All on a sudden there came a voice from the heavens and it said, Dushyanta, this woman is your wife and the young child is indeed your son. Shakuntala spoke nothing but the truth. It is up to you to honor her and take the child on your lap. Protect this son as though he is your very life, since he will be a greater king than you. Do not insult Shakuntala, who has suffered enough. The Devas now assembled in the sky and they could be seen. They said, Take your son at once and proclaim him to be your heir. Shakuntala spoke nothing but the truth when she said that you promised to her that her son would be king after you. A woman's anger will destroy the entire family. Make haste and pacify your noble wife. Call your son by the name Bharata, since we have asked you to take him. Bhara means honor, protect, guard. Because of your son, your family will be named the Bharata line, and the world will hence be named Bharata. Bharata. The celestials rained flowers on Shakuntala and Bharata. Dushyanta rushed down from his throne and worshipped the Devas. He then addressed the entire assembly and said, You have all heard the words of the Devas and the Rishis. I spoke no truth. I knew that this was my child that was born to me. I remembered my wife also, but I did not want to accept her and her son on the strength of just her words. I did not want anyone to have any doubt about the purity of the parentage of my son. It was equally necessary for you all to know that Shakuntala is really my lawfully wedded wife. I did not want the pointing finger of the world turned towards me, saying, Dushyanta the Paurava took into his Antapura a woman who claimed to be his wife. She was beautiful, and our king did not try to find out if she spoke the truth. I did not want any slur on the names of any one of us, not me, nor my wife, nor my dear son, who is my image. I hope my queen will be gracious enough to forgive my words, which were spoken to benefit her in reality. Dushyanta walked up to the young boy, Sarvadhamana, and taking him by the hand, he drew him to his breast and embraced him warmly. He smelt his forehead as was the custom. He then took hesitant steps towards Shakuntala and pacified her. He said, My beloved, when I met you and took you for my wife, my people knew nothing about it. They might not have believed if I had accepted you without questioning you, without proving to them that you are my queen. The world is always ready to believe ill of others, and this is more true in case of a woman and also that of a man in a high position like a king. That was the only reason why I spoke harshly to you. You must forgive me my words and my behavior. Pativratas will forgive readily even if their husbands have wronged them really. And you will surely forget the entire episode. Dushyanta took Shakuntala by the hand and took her to his Antapura. He took her to his mother and said, Mother, look on your daughter and your grandson. Her surprised eyes were questioning. He told her, Mother, this is my wife, is the daughter of Menaka and Vishwamitra. She was brought up by the sage Kanva and she is now your daughter. Shakuntala fell at her feet and the old queen lifted her up and embraced her. She then said, You are a beautiful woman and you are the fortunate mother of a son who will be monarch of the entire world. He will conquer all the worlds. You must be happy in your new surroundings and make my son happy. Shakuntala was claimed to be the queen of the kingdom, and the king asked the Purohits to set an auspicious hour for the young prince to be crowned as the Yuvaraja. The child was formally named Bharata, and he was crowned as the Yuvaraja. There was great joy in the heart of everyone in the country. Dushyanta ruled the kingdom for 100 years. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Pranamasta. Chapter 143 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Ranti Deva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. In the line of Bharata was born a prince named Ranti Deva. The fame of this man has spread in all the three worlds, and he is still remembered as the greatest of givers. He had immense wealth which came to him as easily as the rains from the heavens. But he would give away all that he had, and there came a time when he had nothing which he could call his own. He would be hungry, but that would not in any way stop him from giving his food to others. He became very poor, and 48 days he spent in absolute poverty. He had nothing to eat for these days, and his wife, with his children, were hungry too. On the 49th day, by some chance, he managed to get some rice cooked in milk, ghee, wheat cakes, and water. After performing the anushtanas, he was about to sit down and eat, when a Brahmin came. He asked for food. Rantideva told himself, Lord Narayana is everywhere, and it is indeed he who has come to me asking for food. He gave the Brahmin the milk and the rice, which he thought was the best part of the food he had. The guest went away satisfied. With a happy heart, Rantideva tried to resume his uninterrupted meal. He gave a portion of what was left to his wife and children. He was planning to eat the rest. A low-born man then came and asked him for food. The prince realized that the Brahman is all-pervading and gave him his own share of the food. After he went away, another beggar came, and with him he had 4 dogs. Rantideva gave away all that was left of the food he had, and he was pleased, since he had appeased the hunger of a guest and his animals too. Only water was now left. Even the water was enough for just one person, and when he was on the point of drinking it, a Chandala, an untouchable, came to him and asked for water. The heart of Rantideva was torn with compassion for the Chandala. He said, I do not desire wealth, nor do I ask for a place in the heavens. All I desire is that I should take upon myself the sufferings of others and relieve them of it. When I gave this water to this poor man, I feel I have given him new life. My hunger, thirst, tiredness, weakness, sorrow, or pain have all left me, and with them I have rid myself of all attachments and all delusion. And he gave the water, the precious water he had with him, to the Chandala. The guests now revealed their true forms to him, and they were Brahma and the Devas. They told him that they were pleased with him. Rantideva worshipped them, but did not ask them for anything. His mind was set on Narayana and nothing else. Even as he was contemplating on the Lord, the avarana called Maya, which is made up of the 3 gunas, left him like a dream abandons the mind of a man who has woken up. Rantideva became one with the Paramatman. Rantideva was the brother of Kuru, one of the famous kings of the line of the moon. He was a descendant of Bharata. The kingdom was very happy under his rule. Kuru performed tapas in a spot named Kurujangala, and the spot became sanctified and was named Kurukshetra. Divodasa was one of the kings of the lunar race. Many were the descendants of this king. Prisht was one of them. He was the youngest of 100 sons, and his son was Drupada. Uparichara Vasu was one of the kings of this line, and his son was Brihadrata. This king is never to be forgotten, since his son was the famous Jarasandha. One of the brothers of Brihadrata was the lord of Chedi. Pratipu was the immediate ancestor of the Kauravas. He had 3 sons, Devapi, Shantanu, and Bahalika. Devapi was never interested in ruling the kingdom, and so, abandoning the city, he went to the forest early in his life. Shantanu became king. Once there was a drought in his kingdom. For 12 years the rain clouds would not give rain to the land. When he wanted to know the reason for this, the king Shantanu was told, since you are enjoying the kingdom which rightfully belongs to your elder brother, you have been tainted by the sin Pariveta. Approach your brother and offer the kingdom to him. Shantanu did as he was advised. But before that, Devapi had accepted the cult by name, Pashanda, which was not approved by the Vedas. Indra then decided that this man was unfit to rule the land and sent the rain clouds to wet the dry land. Devapi, however, became a yogi, and it is said that he is living in a village by name Kalapi. During Kali, the fourth quarter of time, when the line of the moon is dead, he will re-establish it during the next Manvantara, the next Krita Yuga. Bahalika, the other brother of Shantanu, was the father of Somadatta. His son was Buri, and the son of Buri was Burisravas. Shala was the son of Buri. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Arpanamast. Chapter 144 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Ganga and the Vasus. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There was once a great king named Mahabhishek. He had been to the court of Indra, and he was given Ardhasan by Indra, an honor conferred on very few kings of the earth. Ganga had come to the court, and her eyes fell on the king. She dropped them immediately, but Indra noticed it. He said, "Even though you are a celestial, your eyes are pleased with the looks of a mere mortal. You must therefore be born on the earth as a mortal and be the spouse of this king during his next birth." When she was walking despondently away, the 8 Vasus who had been cursed to be born on the earth accosted her, and each told the other about their misfortunes. The Vasus then said, "Mother Mandakini, please do us a favor. We will be born as your sons, but we dread the thought of living in the world of men. So, please drop us into the river as soon as we are born. This way, we will fulfill the curse as well as escape it." Ganga agreed to oblige them. She kept her promise, but one of the Vasus, who was the chief miscreant, could not be thrown into the river. He had to live in the world of men, and he was Devavrata. Mahabhishek was born again as Shantanu, and he married Ganga. 7 of their sons were thrown into the river, and when she was about to throw the 8th child, he stopped her from doing so. She therefore left him and went away, taking her son with her. This son was brought up under the guidance of the divine preceptors and returned to Shantanu later. He was Devavrata. Shantanu later fell in love with a beautiful woman by name Satyavati. She was the daughter of a fisherman, and he wanted the son born of his daughter to be the emperor. Shantanu could not agree to it, since Devavrata was the crown prince. However, the prince came to know about the incident, and without his father knowing about it, he went to the fisherman and brought his daughter to the city as the bride of the king. Devavrata took an oath that he would never marry, and that the son of Satyavati would rule the world after his father. So terrible was the oath that the prince has been called Bhishma ever since then. Chitrangada was the elder son, and Vichitravirya was the other son whom Satyavati bore. Both of them died early, the elder in a fight with a Gandharva, and the younger because of a wasting disease. Before he died, he was married to Ambika and Ambalika, the daughters of the king of Kashi. He died childless, and there was the fear that the Chandra Vamsha would have no descendants. Before her marriage with Shantanu, Satyavati had been taken by the sage Parashara, and to them was born the great Vyasa. When Vichitravirya died, his mother summoned her son Vyasa and asked him to take the wives of her dead son. Vyasa did, and 3 sons were born: Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura. The last was the son of a maid, and so he could not be called a Kshatriya. Dhritarashtra married Gandhari, the princess of Gandhara, and she bore him 100 sons, the eldest of whom was named Duryodhana. A daughter named Dushala was also born. Because of a curse, Pandu could not take his wives Kunti and Madri. With the help of a divine incantation Kunti had learnt long ago, she summoned Dharma, Vayu, and Indra, and her 3 sons were Yudhishthira, Bhima, and Arjuna. Madri, with the help of the same mantra, summoned the Ashwini twins and her sons were Nakula and Sahadeva. These five brothers married Draupadi, the daughter of Drupada. Bhima also married Hidambi, and her son was Ghatotkacha. Arjuna had a son named Iravan by a Naga princess by name Ulupi. Chitrangada, the princess of Manipuri, was his other wife, and her son was named Babruvahana. But he was Putrikash, Putrikasutha, meaning he became heir to the throne of his grandfather since there was no son born to the king. Arjuna married Subhadra, and her son was Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu married Uttara, and you were born as their son, said Shuka to Parikshit. You were saved from the astra of Ashwatthama by the grace of Krishna, the Yadava. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu.